I'm not afraid to chase a scary idea. And in fact, I get excited because um, the intimidating part is the production, right? The intimidating part is how do we, not just how do we manifest this thing in real life, but how do we scale it so that it's not just, oh, proof of concept, it works in the real world, um, but how do we make it so that I'm not the only one that gets to enjoy this, the only one that it'll put a smile on their face?
Mr. Joshy Robots, how's it going, man?
It's going great.
I
I'm enjoying California's brutal winter.
yeah, geez, don't even. It's funny, like when you first hop on here, this is the second time I've asked how you doing when you came on. And there's this thing that you do every time we get together and I ask you that
Uh-huh.
is you actually think about it.
Huh.
You take a moment to think about the question. And that's very interesting. And it's like kind of like my first thing on my notes here is this. I'm always very, and I'm gonna be very candid with you.
Mm.
I'm very intimidated by you
Ah!
as a person. And there's a
Good.
reason for this. Not because like not for any like, oh, I'm nervous, Joshy Robots is so famous and so handsome.
Uh-huh.
But I always get nervous to talk to you because I feel absolutely exposed every time
Yes.
I talk to you because you're very insightful. I feel like pleasantries and the veneer of the bullshit is never there with you. Where did
Can
that
I
come from with you? Like,
can I
tell me
push you
about
one
that.
further? Can I
Yeah,
push you one
please
further
do.
and say I bet you part of what it is kinship, which is to say, um, there's a high level of trust, even if we don't have a sense of where the other person is coming from. There is that like I'm trying to present to you my full honest self. I'm not trying to show you a veneer, and I think probably the same is true on your end. And
Mhm.
because that's the starting point, that is itself intimidating, right? Like a no bullshit zone.
Yeah, but that's
Uh-oh.
unique. That's not normal. I'm
Huh.
most people, I think, at least on initial interaction with other human beings, have
Yeah.
their guard up. They've got a
Yes.
guard. They've got like the ghosted translucent glass in front of who they really are. And I do that too. I think the majority of people do that. And maybe you do it differently. Maybe
Mm.
there's this different way that you protect yourself. And
Sure.
maybe your honesty is some sort of version of that. I don't know. But I just
I
wanted to
w
throw that out there.
yeah.
I don't understand. I don't feel like that with anybody else.
Uh,
Most other people I kind of just have I think on first impressions, even if you haven't seen someone for a while, there's always this progression of almost like poking your finger into like a rubber wall
Yep.
farther and farther and farther
Yep.
until it stretches and then you're finally through.
and like, oh, there we are. Okay, here
There
we
we
are.
are.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah,
now
yeah,
we've come
Yeah.
back to our friendship. We're back in the role. We're back in the groove.
Yep.
And there's just something about you that's very strange in that doesn't exist. I
uh-huh.
feel like I'm
I
like,
I invite a certain level of like straight up honesty. Okay, so here's my two thoughts on that. One is we do this thing, especially as grown ass adults, where it's sort of like we have these survival instincts, most of which came from our formative years, and hopefully most of which are like relatively healthy behaviors. A lot of
formative
them are not
years,
so healthy
formative
behaviors,
years, healthy behaviors.
for sure. I'm already there. Um, and we do what works for us, right? We do what we found success with. And so for me, a big part of that has is just like a lot of my childhood was steeped in all sorts of like dishonesty and deception, and that just throws me. So where I found success is just being super straight up with folks. And then interestingly, this is the sort of the second half of that. My own observations is that it sort of manifests, dare I say, in an aesthetic or a way to be or a value set, which is um, I find myself just in life. Here I am, middle-aged man. Um, Trends and fashion come and go sort of like in rhythm around me. Sometimes it moves toward me, sometimes it moves away from me, but because I'm just so like, nah, this is the shit I'm into, um, that when it comes back, it's like, oh shit, I'm right with whatever everybody's with. And then when it goes away, it's like, you're weird, man. You're what? You're but I'm consistently expressing that thing that's just like, no, this is as a hedonist, this is what feels good to me.
Now, the story of your car matters just as much as the machine itself. Every receipt, every late night fix, rally mile, that's your car's identity. But most of us have that history scattered everywhere. You know, it's in your glove box, it's on social media, it's in a repair bill that who knows where it went. The Common Gear fixes that. It's a platform built by real car people for car people. It allows you to digitize everything: maintenance receipts, build photos, records, provenance, where it's coming from, where it came from, every mile that you log, every oil change. And it's all organized, all searchable, all in one single place. And if you've got decades of paperwork, perhaps, that you bought with a vehicle, guess what? They have a white glove service. They'll digitize everything for you remotely or on site. You'll hand them chaos, and they hand you back a complete car history. It adds credibility. It adds value. Think about if you're going to sell your car, everything now you can show is in one place, has records, is ready to go. Go to thecommongear.com, make your free account, and start building your car's digital legacy today.
So is there like a point where it was negative for you? Because I find it as a positive. I like that about you. But has it ever bit you in your professional or personal career?
Yes. So, as you well know, my business card says copywriter. I come from the world of advertising, although I've been trying to escape since I got in. And the weird thing about advertising, especially on the creative side, is the way they get you to join the party is they say, "Hey, yo, there's folks out here with a big old bag of cash, and they have a business problem, and they need you to solve it with creativity." And that's advertising.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lie. They do have a big old bag of cash. They do have business problems, but the people with the bag of cash in their hand, they don't actually need you to solve it with advertise or with creativity. They need you to appear as though that's what you're doing. That's all they need, right? They need to, there's got to be a lot of dust up. And so for a creative person who really cares about craft and art and communications and just making rad stuff and putting it into the world, you get sucker punched by that, right? Because you're going to put your heart into it. And when it comes time to do the deal, like, okay, now let's make a thing. Oh, it either gets whittled down or watered, or that's great. What else you got? And you can go weeks or months like that. But if you get wind, you start to smell around, oh, they don't actually want to make anything. Or by the time they make something, it's just the same old noise. And the majority of the stuff that we see in the world is that it's just noise. Um, that'll really wreck a person who's the whole time they've been playing like we're all on the up and up with our putting our heart into it and being honest about it and like actually trying to put beautiful things into the world. Like the second that all comes crystal clear, like, no, 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 this was all just, it was just a game. We're all just performing business over here. That'll crush you. And that's in large part when I stopped um, working in-house at agencies because I was so invested. And then as a freelancer, I could just be like, okay, I'm on the project. I'm going to give you my goods. I'm going to give you my talent. And then when the project's over, it's been cool. I'm out. There's sort of a reduced amount of personal investment. And in fact, if anything, that's sort of when I started transitioning over to making stuff for myself. Not that it's any easier. You don't have this big, huge production machine behind you, so that you could just focus on the part that delights us, the
Would you
idea
say
part.
that advertising and the work you were doing before was lying?
Um,
Or was it just because I always feel like when I see an ad campaign,
yeah,
the first thing I do is what are they actually trying? Because it usually comes from a point of I feel like advertising and copywriting in general is always coming from a point of weakness. Like, what is our weakness and how do we say something positive about her? What is our weakness and how do we spin it into a positive? Like,
that's
if you
fair.
look at most of Porsche's advertising, for example, is our future is bleak, so here's our heritage.
Yes.
And so then they rewrite how amazing their heritage is, and then they kind of pull what they actually are advertising into that and paint over it. And I feel like that's what a lot of advertising is it's just kind of just lying.
Yes. So here's what I'll say to that. The best advertising comes from a period just before the business is about to go under, which is to say they actually have a problem to solve and they really do need you to solve it. And in fact, they're going to say yes to some good shit because they've tried everything they got in their bag of tricks and it hasn't worked. So screw it. Who knows? Um, and at that point in time, that's when the good creative comes along and they say yes to it. The really honest stuff, the stuff that tickles and delights us, right? The stuff that's beautiful. And then, and this is the sort of the tragic part, it saves their ass, and now they don't need good shit anymore. Now they got to just status quo it. And that's when the lies come out, right? That's when the deception, that's when the milk toast, that's when the boring, that's when the noise, because they no longer are actually invested in solving whatever the problem is. If the problem was folks didn't really understand us, folks didn't understand the benefit, or, there is no, it's like, the classic Coke versus Pepsi. It's all parody product. It's just we taught you to like this flavor over that flavor, but there's no difference between them. Um, we're just gonna maintain, and then we're gonna tell you some bullshit to attract your attention, as opposed to like when we get right down to it. And the sad part is the vast majority of what's in our environments is that noise. Um, because as much as in agencies we like to flatter ourselves that the creative is king, the reality is actually nah. It's just presence. It's just are you the brand that I see all the time? I was just explaining to my kid. Um, Here we are coming into the holidays. We're Jewish, but that gives me a really enjoyable sort of perch to study um, Christmas from, explaining to her how her understanding of Santa and what Santa wears actually has nothing to do with this character Noel
Yeah.
or Christianity, or it's the Coca-Cola company's brand colors and how much advertising they did the turn of last century. It just they invented Santa Claus as we know it, and then because America is big man on campus, we then exported that around the world, and now Coca-Cola's vision and version of Santa is Christmas, right? No birth of Jesus. No sort of like who was the guy on the sled pushing through the forest to give people living in the cuts little delightful presents to warm their hearts, and none of it. It's consumerism in America. Yay!
Well, you talk about presence and you talk about advertising just being presence. It's an
Yes,
interesting world we live in today where you can just pay for it, whether it's good or not. You can just pay for presence very, very
yes,
easily. I think it used to be a lot more difficult. You had to
yes,
choose, like, hope that if you put something out there, people would see it. Now you can physically give the money to force it in front of people's face. It's very,
yes.
very unique, and it's never been like that in human history that you can pay for presence.
I disagree. Um, I'd say 98% of billboards I do my damnedest not to look at. And then when a billboard is anything interesting whatsoever, it's like it doubly attracts my attention because oh, they actually tried. They didn't phone it in. But a billboard is public space,
Yeah, but it's
right? But
also like you're advertising to like a general population, right? You are paying for the presence, sure, but it's like, well, you're also getting you and me, but you're also getting the 60-year-old housewife that has nothing to do
yeah,
with us. So it's kind of like this
I hear you.
weird market where versus now the paying for presence is you can just be like, here you go,
So targeted.
so
Yes,
targeted, here.
totally. That's fair. Um, yeah, I think advertising is evil. I think the thing that's so depressing to me about the whole thing is like on paper, it's actually uh what would appear as like a really essential part of society, right? Somebody with a good idea has something that's going to actually improve your life, and here they are telling you about it. That's it. That's it, right? Oh, that thing's actually going to improve my life. Now
That
you're trying
seems
to,
like it was in the 50s. Like if you look at car commercials back then, be like 400 cubic inches and a big seat and seat belts. You won't die
yeah,
in this thing, and it's got air conditioning.
yes.
Now it's like
Except
everything's a cologne commercial. You can't even understand what you're being marketed.
the sort of the tell there that in fact it wasn't actually, let me just present to you the good thing that we've developed, is, and in cars, the fact that they just put a new badge on the same vehicle and call it a different vehicle. That's it, right? That's They're giving it away. Oh,
Mhm.
this is for this type of person, and this one is for this type of. Wait a second, you didn't. There's
Yeah.
nothing new here. On the other hand, I don't mind it, right? Like Camaro versus Firebird. Those are they live in the same universe, but I kind of like a little variety. Thank you for giving me a different colorway in that body style, right? Like, cool.
Wife
Um,
beater or a t-shirt, which I
yeah,
mean, it's
yes, yes. So, I again, it's part of why, since I got into advertising, I've been trying to get out, is because the reality is it is a pretty gross endeavor to try and separate people from their money for mostly bullshit reasons, before somebody else can do the same, right? And that sucks. And
yeah,
frankly, it's not what I want to be doing with my days or my life. Um, I want to the promise was, if you play the game, you'll be able to put fun, rad stuff into the world. And that's just it's such a sliver of the game, that I've tried to do kind of this lateral move into, I mean, I don't even know what it is that I do now, how to describe it, but just putting delightful things into the world, and thank you to the internet, because you could just throw it out there
yeah,
and there's enough critical mass that it puts a smile on their face, and it can help you pay the
yeah.
rent.
You're doing things like this
Yeah,
right here. This
yeah.
is tell me about this a little bit. What do I
Oh,
have in my
gee.
hand right here for people that are listening
Well,
and not watching?
I'm gonna walk and talk.
Okay, let's do it.
So, gosh, about 10 years ago now. Well, actually, no, maybe 12 or 13 years ago now, we bought a 911. Won't labor you with the story, but basically we bought it because we kept running cars to go snowboarding, and we needed a car to go snowboarding in. Um, but that ended up being the vehicle because in California, they do a pretty good job of plowing roads, so we didn't actually need the 4x4 to go snowboarding.
Yeah,
Um, and then we started spending a lot of time in the car doing more than just um, snowboarding. Started going on adventures, and there's this thing that happens where you just like you kind of hang out, in an environment, in what and probably many people refer to as the office. You hang out long enough, and the dumb ideas start to come, or you get steeped in an idea. Um, you know, you see it enough, it becomes like these visual environmental memes. So the one that tickled my brain was 917 knobs, how they have the striations. And because I come from the world of skateboarding, every time I'd see this thing, I wouldn't see the heritage of the 917. I'd see laminates of a deck. And so probably, um, yeah, it'd be a decade ago now. Um, I had a kind of like a fuck it moment, and I decided to make you held up yours. This is the prototype. It's big and goofy. I would say oversized. But this one, I glued it up and I brought it over to my buddy Paul's house, and he had his grandpa's lathe from like the 1920s. The
oh, cool.
thing, so like belts everywhere and just
Yeah, just making
rickety as all
noise
hell.
and yeah, just
Oh my God. Like the sound of like, yo, we should step back and put some safety goggles on because this thing's gonna explode. But in fact, it did the trick, and it took us, I swear to God, it took us like 5 or 6 hours to actually turn that knob, because it was just like it was so laborious and wasn't spinning on the RPMs it needed to. But then it was a situation. It's like, oh, that's cool. Like we did a thing, and it went in the car, and then, as it were, friends saw it. That's cool. Can you make me one?
yep.
Uh-oh. But that, of course, that when you synthesize worlds, right? Like heritage of Porsche racing and vintage car racing in general and skateboarding, you're not alone, right? There are other people who this is their Venn diagram as well, and it really um, it feels like personal to them, right? These are not my ideas. These are all our ideas, right? I live in the same soup that everybody else is living in. And so you end up, uh, well, yeah, I'm the type of person who will actually pull the trigger and bring the idea to life. But then you could do the same thing for other people. Um, you differentiate between the
Yeah,
prototype and then
very
this
different.
is I think this is number 12, this one. It ended up going in my car, living in my car for a long time. Um, and then before you know it, you're like, oh shit, capitalism. I better figure out how to make a brand so that I can move some of
Did
this
you see
stuff.
this? When did the light bulb go off for you that you're like, oh, this doing stuff like this or creating things could be my exit from this dishonest place that I'm quagmired in?
So I saw folks in advertising. Um, if there's an exit strategy from that game, the exit strategy was basically um, cut your teeth in advertising, learn the game, and then go start yourself a donut shop, or go start yourself an art gallery, or go do something that's closer to your heart. Um, and so it was always in the back of my mind of like, oh, here's the path. Here's how this happens, right? Like you learn the game in the agency walls, and then you go do something that's actually closer to your heart. I think the difference, in fact, to reveal how much that was always the plan. Um, the last place I worked in-house was an agency in Montreal. I was on the Adidas Originals account, and we moved from there back to San Francisco. My first move, once we got back to town, was to create a business plan for a treehouse building company. That was my whole like I'm gonna figure out how in San Francisco get enough people with disposable wealth. How can my life be building tree houses in the backyards of San Francisco? And it actually, I got pretty far on it, like to where I was doing. Um, I had a prototype, and I had a bunch of meetings with potential clients. And then it was like, okay, but we still got to pay the rent. So I had to start taking freelance gigs again, and then again, it's just sort of like life feeds you opportunities, right? We needed to go snowboarding. We bought the car. I started making stuff, and before you know it, um, now this is the focus. This,
Hmm.
this thing where this is unreleased, but magnet bowl for your tools or for your nuts. It says R.I.P. these nuts on it, right? And it's like a grave. People throwing roses in there. What
I
what
like
do
it.
I do? What the heck do I do? And I love it, right? Like I get to put smiles on faces of people who are like-minded, and I get to dare I say I get to influence them a little bit. I get to bring my values to our community. Um,
I mean, we all love to evangelize. Everybody
yeah,
does. They may say they don't, but they do. Everybody loves to evangelize a little bit. Okay, I want to talk about this. This is the I've got one here. I bought one, and then Jeff also bought me one. So I've got
oh
two.
snap.
So now my wife can wear one without making it smell like lady.
Uh-huh, uh-huh,
Right here. This is my
uh-huh.
3-point pullover, and I'm gonna have Mrs. Producer play a video that explains or shows what this is. Go ahead, Mrs. Producer, whenever you're.
The 3-point pullover by Earth to Robots. To remove, simply zip from the wrist to the hip. Then pull over the head. To rezip, find the hem label and the zipper pull. Let's see that again. The 3-point pullover. Available now at earththerobots.com.
So I want to get into how this was conceived, of course, and how it was built, and the troubles and the trials and tribulations, and what it's done for you personally and emotionally, all these things. But what was the inception for this? Because there's always like this, most things are either inspired, like the shift knob was like, oh, I love that beautiful thing. How can I apply that beautiful thing? And then there's this, which is, was there a problem? Like what was the inception point for this, where the bug was in your brain of,
Looking
I
for the
have to
best
fix this
app for
problem?
navigating your next adventure? Look no further than onX Off-Road. With over 750,000 miles of trails and comprehensive offline maps, you can explore without worrying about cell service. The app features trail ratings, detailed information, and a discover tool to help you find trails near you. onX Off-Road also includes public and private land boundaries, so you'll always know where you can legally off-road, camp, and explore. Want to stay connected? The app features a cell service layer, so you can plan your route with service in mind, which is great for emergencies or just staying in touch. And for added peace of mind, there's a wildfire layer that helps you avoid active fires and smoky areas, keeping you safe and aware of current conditions. With tools like Route Builder, waypoint marking, real-time updates, and route sharing, you're fully equipped for any adventure. Try it for free for 7 days and hit the trails with confidence. Download onX Off-Road today.
I have a terrible answer for you.
That's okay. There's no
I,
terrible answer.
I don't know. I don't know.
Hmm.
What I do know is that a lot of people have dumb ideas, and I mean that in the most positive light, which is to say silly, clever, whatever. I write them down and they fixate. They don't go away, right? So I think that the question of like where did that idea come from? You could just as easily ask that question about this little magnet bowl or um, what else we got lying right here, or the jerry can, right? Like
Yeah.
all of this stuff. Where did that idea come from? I I can't tell you. I can't tell you. What I can tell you is that I say yes, right? Like I'm not afraid to chase a scary idea. And in fact, I get excited because um, the intimidating part is the production, right? The intimidating part is how do we, not just how do we manifest this thing in real life, but how do we scale it so that it's not just, oh, proof of concept, it works in the real world. Um, but how do we make it so that I'm not the only one that gets to enjoy this, the only one that it'll put a smile on their face? That's the scary part. Less than that, it's just like, you spend enough time in the cars,
You're
it
gonna
comes to
run
you.
it. You're gonna run.
Yeah,
You're
like,
just sucks.
wouldn't
This.
it be stupid if? I'll give you a perfect example of that. Um, San Francisco, city of bike messengers. A lot of bike messengers, you wear the messenger bag and it's kind of like well, it's like a seatbelt, right? In
Yep.
fact, Chrome bags, they actually use the buckles of seatbelts. And as many folks may know, I like shooting photos and video while driving. Takes a little bit of juggling, but for me, the fact that you're doing it while driving means that the camera is moving with the driver, which helps the person watching that stuff later on feel really present in the car. Like there's something way different between a shot that's locked down on some sort of a steady cam versus the one that's like moving and being juggled with the person trying to get down in those twisties at the same time. Um, so it occurred to me rather than having to dig in my pockets while I'm driving, bike messengers already have across their buckle, they have a little bit of like a little attachment pocket that they put right there, stick their phone in, right? Because while they're on the bike and they get like you got to go to this location, they don't need to be digging around for their phone. Pull it out right there.
Yep.
This is an idea I had 5 or 6 years ago. So I bought one of these little attachments where you could just slide your phone into it. and I tried it out in the car. I was like, this is going to be rad. While I'm driving, as soon as I see something I want to film or we get into like a really rad technical section, right there, boom. Well, guess what? It didn't work at all because the weight of the phone sitting on the seatbelt pulled it down, right? Versus when you're on a bike in a bike messenger bag, the thing pulls tight. It didn't work, and it's fine. I had to chase the idea. I had to find out. I had to find it. And in fact, in a lot of ways, I got the same uh, dopamine in my brain by finding out it didn't work as finding out it did, because most of the good time, most of the delight happened in the wouldn't it be cool if,
Yeah, the
right? Just
problem solving
chasing.
phase, the building phase, the creative design phase.
Yeah. So in fact, I can give you, as far as the pullover is concerned, I can give you the run up and the story to how did I come up with that idea, but it's almost the least interesting part, right? Like the reality is everybody who loves driving and many people who don't have had that occasion when it's just a little bit too hot and they're trying to pull they're like, oh yeah, it's just gonna, I pull my sweatshirt off all day long, not thinking
And then you get
about,
stuck and you're fucking stuck in it and you're like, "Oh my
and
god."
you're blind and you're probably traveling, like 60, 70 miles an hour. And there may even be passengers in the car that you're freaking the fuck out, right? Like there's so many levels to that. Everybody's had this experience. And the only question is like, how do we get from doesn't that suck to wouldn't it be cool if?
Mhm.
And to be honest, this is the most disappointing part. To be honest, um, it went as far as God, I want to say maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago, when I first started making T-shirts. I have this sort of like monkey on my back about legitimacy, right? Because I'm just one person, and at very least, if I'm going to make something, if I'm going to put it into the world, I need it to be legit. I need it to feel like quality. Um, one of the things when you're making a T-shirt that makes a T-shirt legit, as opposed to just like, just a one-off, high quality woven label sewn into the neck tape, right? That's like a mark of oh, it's for real. It's a real thing.
Yep.
So
It's
I
not
make
just a
these woven
blank with
labels.
a iron on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I make these woven labels. Um, and I'm super excited. And I got a bunch of tea designs sort of in the cooker. And an old professor of mine says, those are dope. I'd love to see them as a sweatshirt. And it planted in my brain this idea of like, once I get this cut of these tees and these graphic tees on lock, I'm gonna jump into cut and sew. Um, and and of course, decorating a T-shirt and cut and sew are two very different universes. But
I
it still
bet.
planted the idea in my head, and so I sketched out what would it look like if the label was just like this big all over print, right? And as long as I'm doing it, let's do it quality. It's not going to be screen printed. Each of those stripes, those rainbow stripes from the label is going to be a color block piece of fabric in the construction, right? Because we're doing this, it's anything you're doing, you want to be doing it um, as your heart would hope it to be. And then and then comes the $1 million question. How did it end up with the zipper under the arm? And gosh, I don't know. It was just like all these other things where it's like, wouldn't it be funny if? And then it just sat there. All it was a little arrow on the illustration of that first pullover that I made. A little arrow that just mentions, oh, and there's a zipper under your arm so you can pull it off while you're driving.
I went through
That's
the
it.
process, like the mechanical process of this in my head a bunch of times. Like
Yes,
I was like,
the
what
magic.
other way would this be possible? And the reason I did that is because Jesse goes, I don't want to mess up my hair. I'm a girl.
Yeah.
How would that work? And I was like, oh man, how would that work? And so I was like doing mental mechanical gymnastics with zippers in my head of how to make it work. I couldn't think of anything. I just
Well,
couldn't. I couldn't figure it out.
the hilarious part of me being an accidental engineer, I also couldn't figure it out. I have no idea um, how you would make that work. Like what you could do. The only reason it works is because it's a quarter zip pullover, which means you can make the head opening bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It won't work with a hoodie, right? It needs, and the only reason it's a quarter zip pullover is because I'm a weirdo who idolizes like fashion from 1989 to 1992. And when I'm sketching this thing up and I'm saying to myself, oh crap, if I'm going to make some cut and sew, it's going to be some cut and sew that I'm into, like that I'm stoked on. So I'm making a quarter zip pullover. That's that. It was never oh, how am I going to pull this over my head? It was this is the fashion that I want to make. And in fact, the prototype, the proof of concept, came from a pullover that I found at a thrift store here in San Francisco. It's San Francisco tourist wear,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, this is going to be the thing that I use, something I found on eBay based off of another one that I found in the thrift store here in town. So I didn't cut up my favorite. This is going to be what I use as proof of concept. And then a scary thing happened. I sewed the zipper in and it worked. The thing worked. And I was like, oh no.
Oh
Now
no,
I
it
got to
worked.
do
It
it.
works.
Yes. Yes.
I
Now I
wonder.
got to do it. Right.
I'm still thinking of this mechanical thing. What if there was snaps, like little snaps right here, so that a girl, like right at this armpit section where the thing comes up, and there was like just like, and you could unsnap it for the women that didn't want to mess their hair up.
You
Don't
should,
answer. We don't want. I don't want to start brainstorming. That's a ridiculous thing to do on this podcast.
okay.
Okay. So what did you discover that was hard with this? Was there anything that was just like, oh man, that you just, I
Yeah.
love getting things wrapped up before I go to bed, or at least having a good stopping place so you can like settle your mind, leave
Yeah.
it to tackle tomorrow. Was there anything that just was just an open loop that you couldn't solve?
So the funny thing and the unsurprising, um, the world of fashion is a lot like the world of advertising, which is there are all these folks who work in various disciplines along the way, and they're all just trying to get through their day, and handle the thing that the person above them is expecting them to handle. Um, there aren't so many folks who are like in it because they have love for it and just can't rest unless the thing is as good as possible. And sadly, that's my approach, right? Like if I'm going to make this pullover, if I'm going to ask real green money from people, this thing had better be not as good as I want it to be. This thing had better be as good as it can be because somebody's going to, that's trust. When you hand over that money, they're going to hand over their trust to me and I'm going to mail them something. And I need that something on the receiving end, not just to meet their expectations, but to like far exceed them because it's they've already gambled on me by putting that money down, right? So the industry of fashion, that's not what it's designed for. So the struggle, and the thing that I had the hardest time with was I'd work with a team through the development process, either on patterns or on finding fabric, and then some bigger fish would come along and it would just be radio silence. I wouldn't hear from them. Like, what happened? Well, I had to learn it the hard way. But come to find out, in the world of fashion, this is just normal. This is how they get down, right? When a bigger account or a bigger project comes along, the smaller one gets paused. It's all good, nothing personal. But this is how we're going to pay the rent because their margins are so thin. And then maybe in time it'll come back to you. But if you have a project, you're like, oh yeah, oh, we're gonna be able to turn that around in say 2 months. Or this part of the process will take a week and a half. We'll get back to you, in 14 days. You don't hear from them. What happened? So, realigning expectations was probably the thing that I learned most in this whole process. Taking a deep breath and recognizing in this whole game, I'm the only one who cares. I'm the only one who has a sense of like, I need to see this thing over the finish line because there's a whole community of people out there who this is going to put a big old smile on their face in a way that's put a smile on my face. And if I don't keep pushing at this thing, I can't tell. I literally so from illustrating the idea initially 7 years ago, I've worked with four separate teams, the first three of whom um, ended for that exact reason because the project is moving along and that I just didn't matter to them. And there I'm standing there like having invested gang loads of cash in either development or materials. And now I have to figure out like, A, are you all okay? Why am I not hearing from you anymore? And B, can I come by and get my shit? I sent you guys a photograph of a whole bunch of cotton in the back of a U-Haul with our mutual friend Joe Hagel. It was one of the occasions when I had to be like, I'm sorry, I gotta fire you guys because I need to move this project forward and you're not giving me anything. It's over. I don't know what's gonna come next. I gotta find another team to work with. But in the meantime, I got a whole bunch of cash invested in cotton that I have to rescue because I can't just, take a dive on all that.
Hmm. Do you think that that kind of frustration isn't and that hardship is a necessary ingredient in a good product in the end?
I don't know because what I can say, the reason why you were able to order a couple pullovers was not because of the struggle, though struggle was necessary. The reason why you were able to order a couple pullovers is because somebody in our community saw me struggling and said, "Hey, yo, you need to get with my friend Allie, who will take care of you, um, who will get stoked about what you're stoked about and see you through to the finish line." That's it. It's like with everything else. It's just finally working with folks who can be invested and care, and that's the difference. And so the question is, well, what if I had found this team right out the gate? Well, for for starters, we would have had pullovers 4 years ago, right? Um, but at the same time, like the good news is I'm not a capitalist, right? Like I'm not in it to sit on on an empire of pullovers. If the idea takes time and patience and dedication, so it goes. Because at the end of the day, what really matters is again making sure that when they actually hit the street, that they are as delightful and high quality as I think people in our community deserve, and that they stand on their own, independent of me and my ego and trying to, to force it through to the finish line, that just as a thing on their own, they're rad and good.
So when you held that first run in your hands and it showed
Yes.
up and you opened up the box or whatever it was, what did that feel like when having the completed thing that you knew that you could send out into the world? You finally had that thing to set sail.
I first visited those babies down at the factory in Los Angeles um, to do quality control because, again, every single one of those that goes out into the world has to be top shelf. Can nobody be disappointed by what they receive when they hand over their faith? This is in between being in North Carolina with you for Lyft, flying back to California to do Robbins Rally. Um, that's the quick visitation at the factory of all of the units we produced for the first drop, and then doing Robbins Rally, and then hopping on a plane to go do Overcrest out in Appalachia. So I didn't get to stay with them. They were there. There was a couple little tweaks on some of them that need doing. Um, but I had kind of a whirlwind of a month where it was a lot of driving and a little bit of business. And then I got back to California and they were waiting for me in my living room. And it was such a bonkers month. Then I kind of just I took a deep breath and said, okay, they are here, they are safe. Um, what do I have to do to actually release them into the wild? Normally, being somebody from advertising, it's a communications game. Normally, my strength is making those little bits of communication. How do I tell people the news? How do I get the word out? But this particular creative endeavor has been such a crazy it's it's a whole new world, um a whole new learning curve, that by the time they actually are there hanging out in the living room, I just don't have the juice anymore to release them into the world. It's just like, oh my God, can I go take a nap now?
Yeah.
So I gave myself a little bit of a breather, about a week. Then I said, okay, baby steps. Let's take this thing real slow. Start with product photography, um, make them look pretty, present them in a way that um, is honest to what they actually are. So at least folks who are in the know can say yes, right? Folks who have tried out the prototypes, um, folks who have been riding along this whole time can actually we can actually do the transaction, and I can get them out to them. And then we got to cast that net a little wider. What does that look like? Well, it's kind of a demo, right? Because part of the design aesthetic of them, the whole idea behind them is that this is like it's a little more than a sweatshirt, it's a little less than a jacket, which is to say it's not weird that you're kind of wearing it a little often, right? This is part of my like my when I go driving kit. But if that's the case, aesthetically, we
As
kind of
our
want it to
drivers pull
be
over,
a little simple.
it allows you to take the sweatshirt
that's
off
like you wearing the prototype.
while
This is
still
the
being
prototype.
buckled into
This
a
is
3-point
the
seatbelt.
proof of
Basically, just
concept
grab it by
video
the scruff
Oh man,
from years ago.
and pull it right off.
look, it's like baby Joshy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
years ago.
In the pull at the wrist, you can pinch the sleeve under your hand while keeping your hand on the wheel and pull against that pinch to undo the zip, creating an
No.
opening with this zipper under the arm.
Oh, that's a great question.
Man, I don't like.
Had I known it takes 7 years, would I continue? Absolutely. Because again, I'm not here um to be sitting on a mountain of pullovers, right? I'm here for the ride. I'm here for the process. There is something um really difficult about you thinking a thing should be so simple, right? It just can't we just get this right? And in fact, the things that I'm talking about are, does the zipper get stitched into the seam with a little fold, or does it sit on top of the seam? No, it gets zipped right into the fold. Okay, cool. Wait a sec. Why did that sample come back like that? Okay, no sweat. I'll put a little note on there and we'll zip it into the fold. Well, well, then the next sample comes back and we're in the same place. Wait a second, right? So the development process itself is such a its own education, that like that became its own reward, right? Learning how to push that boulder up the hill with with style and grace.
Well, I think
Um,
that belies the question then of, okay, so it was worth it. It's good that you did it. Is there another like functional apparel, or would you do something different? Not would you do it again? Because obviously you've already done it. It's very difficult
yeah.
to speak to that. Do you want to do another project like this? Would you?
Looking for the best app for navigating your next adventure? Look no further than onX Off-Road. With over 750,000 miles of trails and comprehensive offline maps, you can explore without worrying about cell service. The app features trail ratings, detailed information, and a discover tool to help you find trails near you. Onyx Off-Road also includes public and private land boundaries, so you'll always know where you can legally off-road, camp, and explore. Want to stay connected? The app features a self-service layer, so you can plan your route with service in mind, which is great for emergencies or just staying in touch. And for added peace of mind, there's a wildfire layer that helps you avoid active fires and smoky areas, keeping you safe and aware of current conditions. With tools like Route Builder, waypoint marking, real-time updates, and route sharing, you're fully equipped for any adventure. Try it for free for 7 days and hit the trails with confidence. Download Onyx Off-Road today.
I would say this is all I've ever done, right? Like, not to say that this wasn't the most Herculean thing that I've developed so far, and in a lot of ways it is. Um, but like in fairness, when I first started making graphic tees, it was a struggle finding illustrators to execute the stories I wanted to tell with the flavor I wanted to tell it. That is its own, like, learning how to do it. And frankly, I got a roster of illustrators now that I can go ring up when I got an idea that needs coming into fruition. That's no longer a challenge. But at every stage, every aha, you're like, well, how the heck do I figure this one out? Right? That's how it if anything, that's part of the reward. The reward is those, taking on those big challenges. If the idea is strong, that's all that's you're fed, right? Like, keep chipping, keep pushing at it, keep pushing at it. And as I say, if anything, there was a bit of a like a oh no when that first prototype worked. Oh no.
It's inevitable. It goes from an
Yes.
idea to an inevitability.
Yes, because
And that
before
is
I tried it
heavy.
out,
That's
yeah,
heavy.
before I tried it out, it was just something tickling my brain. And then once it worked, it's like, oh no, okay, here we go. Now we got to develop it because now it needs to be in the
It
world,
needs to
right?
live.
Like, I need to gift this to everybody else in our community.
Well, I've got another topic I want to talk about here after this, but where can people, and I'll put a link in the show notes if someone wants to grab something from your store, but where can they find it?
On the internet, earthrobots.com.
There you go. Easy. In the show notes too. If you're too lazy to type, you can just touch it with your finger and
It is.
it'll teleport you in time and space to
Yeah.
pick one of these up. Okay. So pardon me. I think it's clear that we have very different worldviews, which is okay. It leads to interesting discussions.
I think it's
and outcomes,
essential.
and it is
Yeah,
essential.
yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
So I wanted to pose this question from that foundation. From an egalitarian perspective, and egalitarian means fairly equal, like aiming towards equality.
Yes.
Autonomous cars seems like something that you would love because it makes travel and movement more egalitarian and accessible.
Yes.
But at the same time, I know that you are someone who loves to drive and loves the freedom to travel and explore at will. And
Yep.
these two concepts seem at odds. And I'm just wondering how because I don't know what your opinion is on robot cars, so maybe I shouldn't assume. But how would you reconcile that?
How do you square that circle, being someone who wants accessibility for all, but also is a bit of an individual?
Sure.
So I live in a terrible shithole called San Francisco. I think it's probably in competition with Paris, France, as being one of the most disgusting places on planet Earth. Being facetious, of course. It is strangely gorgeous, naturally gorgeous. And I think the folks who lived here and have lived here for generations have done pretty well making it even more beautiful. It's an urban environment. There's no fun to be had driving in an urban environment. I once had fun driving on the island of Manhattan in a track car. The part that was fun about it was actually just going toe to toe with all the cabbies. And I think the reason why that was fun was mostly because cabbies, like, they have a rhythm with each other that does not involve civilians, right?
Or a race car.
Or a race car. And the fact that my car was not painted yellow, and so they did not recognize me as one of them. but I was like getting in there with them, getting in their rhythm, and boy, was that a lot of fun, right? So urban environments, for the most part, if you're not part of that network, it doesn't work, right? If anything, it's a pain in the ass.
It's
That's why
something
it's so
that people
important.
don't understand. There's a lot of people that will harp on about public transportation is bullshit, blah 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 blah. And normally I would tend to agree depending on the size of the urban scale.
Yes,
Right.
that's fair.
I was just in New York City for a matter of days, and I could go anywhere in the city at any time that I wanted to go, and be almost anywhere within like 20, 30 minutes. It's
Yes.
fantastic. When I lived in San Francisco, I lived in Daly City per part of the time that I was there, right next to the Cow Palace, actually. I was
Yeah.
like 2 blocks away from the Cow Palace. I could take the BART system pretty much straight to wherever I needed to go. I went to the Art Institute downtown San Francisco,
Yeah.
and I could travel around. I needed my bicycle and I needed the BART system. And I didn't
Yeah.
really ride the Muni. I don't like the bus. The bus is just I don't like the bus.
Not for you.
It's too slow.
Yeah.
It's too slow. Like if you want to go a couple stops, that's fine. But if you need to travel if you're going from Daly City to downtown San Francisco on a bus,
Sure.
that sucks.
Sure.
It truly sucks. But I think there's this argument that just goes to the edges on this. Like transportation should be always, and public transportation should be never. But I
Yeah.
think it's far more nuanced than that. I think a lot of America is not built for public transportation. I think a lot of it is very sprawling and it's very large and it doesn't work. Um, I just wanted to add that note. So you continue. I'm still listening.
Yeah. But I think you're onto something, which is to say, it's not transportation is not one size fits all. It it morphs depending on the needs of the environment. I think, in fact, one of the things that you'll see in both urban and rural environments when you roll up to a stop sign and look over at the person next to you is that they're on their phone, which
Mm,
is to say they aren't really there as a driver. And I think that kind of signals, is this person, given their preference, would they like to be driving right now? Or would they like to be in their phone, right? So just as a like, just laying the groundwork, um, transportation is about getting from here to there. It's about doing that with a certain level of autonomy and efficiency, and it's about doing it in a way that you're comfortable, right? It's why we all bemoan traffic.
mhm.
So as far as systems, and where they fit, I live in a city that's now getting pretty saturated with self-driving cars. Um, I go out on the block to go get a sandwich, and like no joke, within a minute and a half, another robot will drive by. Right? It's like that. And now
What do
we've
you
got
think when you
on.
see that? When you see that drive by, does it still strike you as different, or is it so normal that you don't even think about it anymore?
Um, so I actually, not at this house, but at our old house, we lived on one of the blocks that they were testing, and so I've been in an environment uh, looking at robots for about 3 years now. At first, um, I just love fucking with them, right? Like I'd throw shit into the street to see them go, "Skirt," right? Like it just gave me so much happiness, which is sort of a weird thing, right? Like what is it about us as humans that like that just sort of disrupting a robot? The,
Yeah,
the robot, there's no ego to the robot, right? It doesn't
it
care
doesn't
that I just
care.
interrupted its line, right? Like it's the whole thing. But I think there was a level of, and it goes to your question, there's a level of novelty that I was responding to.
Hmm.
But now it's the same as a bus going by, which is to say, I have a huge fondness for we'll call them operators who drive the buses in San Francisco. They're like such rad stand-up people, and they're pretty hardcore because as a bus driver, you got to deal with a lot of shit in the city, right? So the amount of respect I have, for those bus drivers, I now have it for the robots because the reality is those robots are pretty damn predictable. And as a very aggressive driver, that's kind of one of the things I need out of my environment. I need to know, like, with relative certainty, how that vehicle is going to behave. I know how the muni buses are going to behave. I know how the robots are going to behave. You know who I don't know how's going to behave? Is the person who just recently decided to tint all their windows all the way around.
Yeah.
Like, yo, I don't know anything about you. I don't know what you're going to do. And that just gave me the jitters. Now it sucks. It sucks to drive because I can't work in rhythm with you in this environment. I
I
will
don't.
say though, yeah,
I don't know, man. I mean, I agree. Driving with conviction is important, and no one's going to drive with more conviction than a freaking robot. That is the ultimate conviction. They're,
yes,
it's yes or no all the time.
yes.
Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. That's what they do. Um, there's probably some amount of reason that will have to be plugged in at some point, because you always think of the drawing where it's like you've got the child on one rail and then you've
Sure.
got 10 adults on the other. Which lever are you
Yes.
pulling?
Yes.
Eventually it's going to have to make that decision, and that will have to be programmed in. The value of life will have to be programmed. It probably already is. We just don't know it. Who knows? But I feel like in a system where that is where we're going, the room for Joshy to drive around his 911 amongst that doesn't exist.
Okay, so let me push back on that idea.
There's no way regulators are letting those two things exist at the same time. There's no world.
So
There are, like in Europe, that's already out the window.
yeah, but well, we're cowboys though.
It's true.
And here I will reveal to you why I think it's going to work, and I also will reveal what makes me most uncomfortable about it.
Sure.
So, again, with the starting point of regardless urban or rural, when you roll up to that stoplight, you look over and you see somebody on their phone, or even more fun, you see them on the freeway or whatever. I read from that this person is not stoked to be driving right now. They are not present in that role. Okay. So let me assume from that then that the majority of people actually don't like hanging onto that wheel. They don't like that role, being the driver. What are they getting out of owning their own car? It is autonomy, right? It is efficiency.
Yeah. It's
So
going where you want, when you want, how you want.
exactly. And here's another tell. You roll up to the Walmart parking lot, black, silver, gray, maroon,
Mm-hmm.
black, silver, silver, black, maroon, gray, jelly bean, jelly bean, jelly bean, jelly bean. These aren't even people who like love their cars, right? It's a utility object, which is to say, right now we've got an idea in our head, that's my car, and it says something about me, but not really,
And that's how
right?
it's marketed still, though. Like when you watch car
Absolutely.
ads, it's still marketed as you can define yourself with this car.
Yes,
Every car segment is for a particular person and for a
yes.
particular role or whatever. So it's still marketed and advertised as a personality choice.
Listen, Kris, I made uh what I call rocket pop blue, white, and red pullovers, and I made black pullovers. I'm gonna pimp the shit out of those rocket pop pullovers, right? Like that's the bright, fly, eye-catching um, version of the pullover, but I'm gonna move the black ones.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people will say yes. So I think what you're sensing there is the thing that attracts our attention is not actually the thing we end up saying yes to. The thing that actually is in our hearts,
As
right?
a society. Well, as
Yeah.
a society,
Just
most people
collectively, what is the decisions we make?
they're buying Nissan Maximas, and Nissan is just charging them 20% interest, and that's actually the product, not the car. Got it.
So here's another world. Another world is where we have all of these robocars, hive mind, they're all connected to each other.
Mm-hmm.
The way they already work is by, with their lidars scanning an environment to tell exactly what's happening, not just in their line of sight, but around the corner. So they've got this real-time map of the environment, which is to say, we're still early days, but the thing is developing super fast.
They will know everything that's going on the road at any given time, anywhere, all the time.
Yes.
100%. That's going to happen.
Yes.
In
Yes.
what world are they letting you drive in that landscape? Why is that allowed?
So the question is as much, why will Josh driving like an asshat in downtown San Francisco not mess up the rhythm of all the robots talking to each other? As the question is, in what version of cowboy country, America, do enough people look at that and say, No, we should definitely not let Josh drive with the robots. Because the reality is, what the robots are programmed for is um, to assess the real world risks and to adjust, right? The kicks I would get by chucking my sweatshirt into the street when they would come down the way, that's what they're programmed for, which is to say, they're programmed to deal with me. And here's the part that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, but you're saying that like the robots have the choice of whether you're going to be the one that's allowed to drive or not.
No, I'm saying the transition isn't us collectively saying, no more humans, only robots. It may be that, but I think what it's going to be is more and more people. It's the same like with electric cars. Oh, we miss the sound of them. We miss the ritual of going to the gas. I don't know what people's excuse is. Whatever it be, at the end of the day, listen. We got 4 vehicles. One of them is electric. It is by far the lowest maintenance, easiest to drive, easiest everything, cheapest. I don't even see it as a car anymore. It's so easy to take care. Are you kidding me? So when people start making their purchase decisions, this same group of people who, yeah, they've grown up on the romance of the car, but at the end of the day, when they make the choice, they choose the gray Maxima, right? Those same folks, they're gonna start making the less expensive, easier to maintain, more reliable choice, right? And you and I and all the rest of us romantics are going to be out there saying, are you gonna let us be on these streets any longer?
Yeah.
Uh, they won't care. They're going to be, in their Game Boy sitting in the back of the robot car,
They won't care,
totally
but
cool.
I think most people don't care. But I think there's this certain level of control that regulators would just go, dude, you unsafe. We
Yes,
remember the time when everybody was
yes.
dying.
This is what freaks me out.
You can't interrupt this
Yes,
it's literally a driving utopia is what it is seen
yes.
as. I think it's going to be realistically in our lifetime we're fine. I think we're
So
fine.
here's what I think is going to save us: that urban rural divide. I already can't get my rocks off driving in San Francisco. I
Mm-hmm.
have to leave the city to go out to the twisties, right? So already the question is not, am I going to drive like an asshole in San Francisco? I already don't, right?
Yeah.
I'm super, super chill within city limits until we get out is when the fun happens, right? So that's not a question. But the thing that, and this you may be able to relate to, the thing that does make me uncomfortable is all these hive mind robots that are all over town that got their eye on me as a threat, right? Like they're just doing threat assessment of this 9/11 shaped object moving through San Francisco,
Yeah.
right?
They're going to scan the car and they're going to go and they're going to immediately listen to the other podcast we have where it says Josh is ready to
they
die.
they got
And
me. They got me.
and then that's it. It's over. They're going to
No, but
drive
the
you off the
question
road, off the bridge into the San Francisco Bay.
from the no, yes, from the surveillance perspective, right? I don't have. One would think we live in this society where it's like I'm not guilty because I committed the act. I'm guilty because you caught me and proved it.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to live in an environment, a transportation environment where you got all these little eyeballs moving about the city, always watching you. You ain't going to get away with shit, right?
How
That's
do
what makes me
how do you
nervous.
feel about that?
Um, I hope collectively as Americans, I hope that we step up and we create some firewalls. Because on the one hand, already statistically speaking, the robots are way better and way safer at driving than we are. I'm into that.
Undeniably so.
That's cool. And I like that people who don't want to be holding the wheel don't have to be holding the wheel without giving up their autonomy or their sense of individuality. I like
Yes.
that a lot.
Yep.
But at the same time, if we're not thoughtful about how we legislate and create the environments that these hive minds exist in, culturally we will create a monster we were never going to be down with, right? Like I
Maybe we shouldn't matter though, dude. Maybe you and I shouldn't matter. Why do we matter? Is it You know what
That's
I'm
fair.
saying? Like maybe
I do.
we're just
I
idiots that
do.
love cars and we're just this fringe. Like, who gives a shit about us? Society can move on.
I think the answer to that question has way less to do with us and people who own cars and way more to do in general with American culture. The question
Like
is
rebel culture, like break the rules, punk rock, fuck you, I don't give a shit. I'm not gonna do what you told
perhaps,
me.
or for that matter, any type of individuality that I think culture has to come from the freedom to stretch out ideas. And if we create a society that just as a default is constrictive, we won't make room. Um, there won't be fertile ground for free ideas. Now, that said, there's got to be some like ground rules um, in order to create an environment where people are able to flourish, right? Are able to feel safe, be safe, um, and work in community and work toward higher goals. Uh-oh, I
Just
tickled something.
I'm just thinking of like my brain just goes, why does society need any new ideas? Haven't we come up with I'm not talking about engineering ideas and tech ideas, I
Totally.
understand. I'm talking about like cultural, social, religious. Why do we need any more? We don't need any more ideas, do we? Do we really?
Um, so
I'm not
I
saying
hear
that people
you.
shouldn't believe in what they want to believe. I'm saying,
Yeah.
do we need to constantly try and make progress all the time? Can't we just go, this is pretty good? Can we
Yes.
just do this? Realizing humans are these imperfect beings and can we just be like
Yes.
this?
So says the caveman. You
Yeah,
are standing.
we're like thousands of years of new ideas away from
Okay.
caveman.
Okay. Okay. And just consider, 100 years into the future, Kris, 100 years in the future says, okay, now's the point at which we press pause. No new ideas. We're good. You could say that at any
Of
point
course.
in human civilization, and I think it becomes a self-defeating argument because really it's a subjective question
Yeah, but you
about
would think
when
that
that breaking point.
eventually society would either A, become enlightened,
Yes,
or B, crash and burn.
good.
There's like this tipping point of
Yes,
we're either going to become this enlightened species that is almost similar to Pluribus, the new show that's out, where it's this
yeah,
hive mind of people and blah blah blah. Everybody's no war, peace, everything's fine, yada yada yada. Or there's just a complete collapse of civilization and we start over, and we
I
come up with
have.
all these new
Yes,
ideas all over again.
I like it, and I have a third possible path forward.
Okay.
And I'm gonna change venues because the cat is enjoying her toy. The third possible path forward is that there's always work to be done. You, and this I think directly um, addresses your question of why do we always have to be trying to make things better? Well, because there's always work to be done. So, for example, I think it started in the 50s, but it didn't actually get any traction until the 60s. Ralph Nader started pushing for seatbelts. Ralph, leave us alone. Why you always got to be pushing things forward, right? And as a result, we got seatbelts in every car, and there's a lot of people who get to live their healthy lives because Ralph kept pushing things forward, right? Um, every corner of society, we have progress that wouldn't be there. Women being able to own property, let alone vote, right? Women being whole members of our society.
In
At
the
any
last
point,
100 years, though, we've seen massive change that's been good. I agree. I'm not saying that change is not good. There's been many
yes,
times in human civilization where we were horrible, toxic, just the
yes,
worst.
yes,
But is there a point where, and I'm thinking of like this hive
yeah,
mind, autonomous car civilization, and I'm thinking in my brain, what else is like this in this civilization? There's so many things that are going to be automated and We're
Yeah.
going to need universal basic income because nobody's going to be doing shit. Because we're literally going to have robots that'll be able to complete all the tasks that humans can do.
Yes.
It's inevitable.
Yes.
That doesn't seem great. And maybe we should just chill. And work
I
on those
disagree.
social issues. Maybe we can work on being better people rather than continuing to advance. And I sound like the worst Luddite in the world right now. I know it. I know I do.
I disagree. I think you perhaps are the classic fish swimming in the bowl, not realizing it's water that they're swimming in, right? Because it's so close and it's ever been thus that you think this is as it should be. But let me just suggest, not to pick on any concerns, but if these robots, if we do a good job on them, and they do as promised, which is to say, um, pick up the slack, right? Do a lot of the work that otherwise would be needed to be done by humans, and then your nightmare comes true, which is people don't have to work as much or at all.
There's no
Then my
frustration and
fantasy,
struggle for which to overcome and succeed. Nothing's
but I
hard.
I will kick that back to you. Um, I think uh, uh, challenge me on this, but I think being a race car driver is a valid profession. I think it's admirable. I think it's downright sexy. And I think we should have race car drivers. But I think you could also make a pretty good case for why it's not a profession. It's bullshit and we don't need them. What if we could make a world where there were more race car drivers, there were more gardeners, there were more people who made pullovers you could take off without taking your seatbelt off? There's an alternate timeline
It
where we're
sounds
not.
like a world where everything's great and nothing is special. I don't want
Does it?
everybody
More
to be a race
gardens
car
isn't
driver.
special?
I'm talking race. I don't want more pullovers like this. I want one. I want you to make it. I want it to be special. I don't want more
Ha.
race car drivers. I want a few that are a spectacle and it's
Yes.
marvelous. And there's this breadth of difference between that guy and me. I want that
Yes.
contrast and that value of this versus I suck at race car driving. I want to suck. I
Yes.
want to not know how to make a 3-point pullover. I want
Yes.
someone else to do it so that I can marvel at the time, effort, frustration, and success and the result of that hard work. I want that. I don't want more people to be able to do that. I want it to
And
be
I will
hard.
tell
I
you,
want it to be
you
hard.
you get a hard a Scrabble race car driver. You get a gardener who is in touch with the worms in the earth. You get an ass hat who came up with some goofy idea because we have the room in our lives to spend our energy on that. We have surplus in society that the race car driver doesn't actually have to go work in the iron mill and instead can pursue race car driving. I'm not telling you you have to be a race car driver too. I'm telling you, as society creates these surpluses in work effort, we can start developing all of these other endeavors that we wouldn't have the resources to chase, right?
I think
I
without
wouldn't be.
Roblox, I think if it doesn't demand sacrifice, I think it becomes less valuable.
Are you telling me developing a 3-point pullover doesn't demand sacrifice?
I think it does, but if you don't, a lot of that sacrifice is financial because you have to
Yeah,
be able to provide for your family.
totally.
So
Yes, I'm
if
in some heavy debt right
yeah,
now. I'm with it.
so if that sacrifice doesn't exist, and the reward, it's almost like human beings need the reward of what they're doing.
Right.
And I can see where this conversation is going.
You're
Like
about
I
to make my point for me?
Yeah, I can see it. Like I can see on the horizon that
Yeah,
we live in a political system. Um, but I think human beings need to be rewarded for hardship.
agreed.
I think scars are important. I think
Yes,
imperfection is very important. And I don't think giving people more time is the answer. I don't this goes off the rails very, very quickly. But
I
I
am a
don't
case in point. Me being able to step away from advertising, even as I've had to go into debt to do it, has created the opportunity for me to be able to come up with absurd ideas. It doesn't happen if I can't afford to step away from the advertising
Correct.
agency, right? So I understand what you're saying. Humans need to struggle. I agree. Humans need to struggle to strive. We would not be satisfied if we didn't have that in our lives, right?
Yep.
We would not. This is
That's
why
like in
I'm.
nature, man. That's like in trees
Yes,
and grass and
yes,
everything. It's that just the hardship makes everything stronger and better. And if
yes.
it's not there, we're just gonna have like this milk toast, wet paper towel society that crumbles and fails at any
My
hardship.
point being that we all feel that. We all feel the craving to struggle and to strive. We all feel it within ourselves. And then we look across the way at the person who lives in that community way over there and say, yeah, but if you cut them a check, they're going to be a bum and sit on the couch all day. Wait a sec. You're not a bum, but they are. How does that work? Wait a sec. Your family isn't a bum. No. If we create a community and a society that values making big, beautiful things with your energy, as opposed to clocking in at the factory, right? Why don't we have the robots clocking in the factory and you can make, dare I say, the podcast,
Do you
right?
think that human beings, that everybody pines or would do that? Do you think people, if they had the time and they had the space in their lives, would
Yeah,
like? I don't think everybody's built that way, man. I think there's different human beings that are raised different ways, and some get the genetic lottery and some don't. Some some of the creative people are the way they are because of the hardships they had and the way they were raised.
yeah,
If we wipe the slate clean for everyone, I just I fear that the ingredients will not be there to create beautiful things. I just
I hear you.
it's
Here's
it
the thing that
this
gives me
this is
hope.
like this it's that line where it's like, yeah, well, we need more of this, but like, oh
Yeah,
no, we it can't be too easy, but we should try to make it as easy as possible for everyone so that we can have more of the beautiful things in life, but oh, we
the
can't.
what we already do with our spare resources is excellent. We join our church and create celebration. We join a quilting circle and create community. We say yes to a rally and drive across the country to go drive in circles so we can drive home. We're already doing it with the resources we got. And the assumption that if I don't have this 9 to 5 with an asshole corporation or middle management boss putting their thumb on me, I won't also participate in all these other uh, parts of my life that are sort of closer to my heart. The assumption that once the toil goes away, I won't pursue my humanity. How does that track, right?
I think
So
we're
you
talking about
already,
scale, right? So you're talking about scale. Like it doesn't have to be race car driver. It can be guy who likes to
yeah,
just drive with his bros. And I
Sunday school
think
teacher.
that's yeah, I mean I think that whether I like it or not, and generally I do not, I believe we are heading towards a society that is very, very um autonomy
Yeah,
based.
yeah,
I think we are going to need a UBI. As much as I may hate that, there needs to be some sort of universal basic income. What this is a car podcast, right? Where we need a universal basic income where people, because I, obviously it's like, hey, I've seen the ads where when electricity came out, everybody's like, everybody's going to die, right? We don't know what the economy will do. It's a very complex and verbose structure of human beings that can often be very unpredictable. We may this is uncharted territory for civilization. We maybe don't know how people will react in this petri dish of autonomy and AI. We don't
yeah,
know. Maybe I don't know what jobs will be created. I don't know what
yeah.
economy is going to. Who knows? I have
We
no
don't know the
idea.
specifics, but we do know the behavior. Here's a screwdriver, literal screwdriver, right? What's it do? It drives a screw.
It's a hammer.
Over there in a box is a drill driver.
No, that's a
Plug it in.
hammer, Joshy. That screwdriver can be a hammer. It can. I'm just saying.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
You can make a pry tool. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
What do we do? What do we do with not this one, but the one I plug into the wall, right? Well, we get that screw driven in, lickety split. Well, what am I going to do with that extra time? I'm going to drive a second one in. At some point in time,
Yeah, there's an
all of
efficiency
this
scale.
mechanical efficiency has to do something for me, right? I built the shelf in half the time. Can I please have that half the time back to go write my wife some poetry, please?
I
Right?
can guarantee you that is not how that doesn't work in the economy we've got, because I can guarantee you if you become more efficient or I become more efficient, I'm not working less. I'm just going to have more of my labor extracted from
Oh, sounding like a pure socialist.
me.
I like it.
I just know that's how it
Yes.
works. As
And
we've gotten more
so,
efficient over time, that's how it's always been.
and so as it is with the robot cars, where as we feel this change coming, we have to legislate to create guardrails to protect, for example, against the surveillance state. So too, as we feel these mechanical efficiencies entering into our life, we gotta legislate so that we don't get exploited,
Hmm.
right? So that we do have that time back to go bless our own communities, right? Like to actually do stuff for the neighbor and not be like, I ain't got time. I ain't got time. Right? No, you get your time back. And the mechanical efficiency, i.e. the robots, fill in the gap. Or another way we could go is that all of that efficiency gets translated economically into the pockets of the folks who own the robots initially, and we don't get our time back. And in fact, we get ever invested into being consumers in their endless. Oh, here we go. You're right. It is a car podcast. I'm pro robot cars. I'm pro robot cars. I'm stoked. I'm excited to toss it up with them and then get out into the
Dude, I have a
cuts.
dream of like being 96 years old. I've got this 911 over there and it's banned. And all of the autonomous cars are driving around in Minneapolis. And
Yep.
I've got cancer. I'm going to die. I am.
Mad Max.
Let's go. I'm taking that car out and I'm going to just rip down like Hennepin Avenue or Main Street
Yep.
or whatever, Main Street, any town. And I'm going to tear it
See
up.
how many of those robots you can pit.
Yeah, right? Just get out of the way.
Pinky bunky.
Imagine the guy that like has a dump truck sitting in the back of his field that's just like, fuck this. And he puts a snowplow on his dump truck and just plows all those autonomous cars off the road.
Yeah.
It's interesting times ahead.
Brave new world.
Interesting time. Thank you for coming on and talking to me, man. Everybody go to earthtorobots.com. Check out this guy's cool merch. I have great respect for you, Joshy. I'm really impressed by what you've accomplished. I sense how difficult this was.
It's a labor of love. Yeah.
It is. And good on you, man. We'll see you around. We'll see you next time.
Good to see you, Kris.
All right. Take care.